But I do have to say a few things. Balotelli today during the game versus L.A. made a really foolish move, and I guess he's going to say that he thought the whistle blew and he thought he was offsides, and so he just kind of, did that little funky little backwards kick.
Spin back heel move.
Yeah, and there are going to be guys like Anthony on Beyond the Pitch, old friends of ours, who will probably defend Mario Balotelli to the end and say, well, it was just he thought he was offside, so he did this little thingamajigger where he kicks it backwards. But the fact is that, Taylor Twellman took Balotelli to school today. And I think Taylor Tight Shirt Twellman is becoming one of my favorite, announcers, football announcers for MLS and other games. And I hope they keep him around. He's been fantastic.
I love and I hate Tight Shirt. For one, I hate him because he was on New England and all, but that's it. I love him because he was a great player, and I have a feeling that I probably started the whole Tight Shirt thing. But
I think you did.
I think I did. I really do.
Tight Shirt Twellman.
But anyways, if he in fact thought that the whistle blew, and that's just his screw it, and the thing, because a lot of players do things like that after the whistle's blown. Then I can understand. I don't have any issue with it.
Right.
The way I took it is he gets past the man and thinks, oh, this is an MLS team. I'm showing them no respect, so I'm going to do some try to fancy move, and blew it completely, and it got subbed immediately. So clearly we're not the only ones who thought that he was just trying to showboat. But if he in fact thought that he was offsides, then I don't have any issue with it. But I do still take it until you can't prove otherwise. He says one thing, you think another thing. But
right. Well, it
just showed if it was an actual attempt on goal, and only he will know. It just showed a lack of respect for the team, his opponent.
That's what Balotelli seemed to be telling Mancini on the side, his coach, his manager, after he was pulled from the field. I
love it when Italians argue because they really are.
Oh yeah, Balotelli
had hands and just,
Balotelli had his hand up and going, blah 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 blah, whatever he was saying, to Mancini. Mancini just said, "Get the hell out of my face!" And then he chased Balotelli down the bench, and then Balotelli threw down his water bottle, which ended up on the field, and some assistant had to throw it back off the field, and it was ridiculous. But you know what? Man City are ridiculous. So that's kind of my thought there. They spent all this money. I'm not sure if this is really a team or not. We'll move on. I didn't even mention, but it is true that Joe Hart is Taylor Twellman's doppelganger. I mean, they look exactly the same. And even Taylor Twellman today said, you know what? It's true. I saw a photo of him, and it just freaked me out.
Perhaps they were split up at birth.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Let's talk about, let's see, what was his name? Tim Cowlishaw was a guest host on PTI with our friend Michael Wilbon, who we generally like, because Michael admits, hey, I don't know that much about soccer, but what I do know, I like the game, I like the sport. He's typically a good supporter of the game. But they asked the question in one of the segments, what's the chances that a U.S. women's international player will play or get a chance to play or will play in the MLS? Major League Soccer.
Chance?
And, well, yeah, Wilbon gave it a 6% chance, which is just about as good as giving it a 0. Because I think Wilbon was saying, well, I don't want to totally offend them. But
I was going to say, yeah, exactly, yeah.
But at the same time, Tim I'm not going to say that. Okay, Tim Cowlishaw, Tim Dumpbutt, Tim Nimrod Cowlishaw said 60%. I have to ask Tim Cowlishaw, what MLS has he been watching? He lives in Dallas. Maybe he's just been watching too much Dallas soccer, but Dallas is doing really good.
Maybe you watched him, maybe he was a big fan 3 years ago.
Maybe he's never really been a fan. He only covers it as much as he absolutely has to, so he doesn't look like a total ass when somebody asks him a question about it. But the plain fact of the matter is Tim Cowlishaw is living back in the 1990s, in 1995 and 96 or 97 or whatever, when 90210 guys could come on and play an MLS game. I don't know if you knew that, but I guess that happened. But the fact is that Tim Cowlishaw must have his butt so wrapped around his brain and his head to say something like that. And I love the gals. I think Abby, and these are the two players everybody talks about, Abby Wambach and Hope Solo, they're great players, and I love those gals. But there is 0% shot they will ever play in the Major League Soccer. Period.
Well, I just want to say, love or hate soccer, I truly enjoy watching PTI and Around the Horn and listening to all their take on it. Not everybody has to like the sport or respect the sport for that matter, but I still enjoy it thoroughly, what they have to say on the matter. I was overly shocked by the whole MLS topic. I was at a bar when I heard it or saw it. I didn't get to hear it because the music was playing over top of it, but yeah, I have to agree with you. At the 6% is basically just say, I don't really want to offend people, but pretty much 0%. The 60%, I think maybe since it happened it was like the 2 days after the Women's World Cup finals. I think it was basically just a kind of giving props to the U.S. women. I don't know how sincere he was behind the whole 60%. If he was sincere, and he's completely off his rocker. Because, in all honesty, and I love the women's national team. I love what they could do, and we've talked about them before. But again, it's not going to happen.
No.
I even seem to recall reading Mia Hamm even mentioned that the highest level that the women's national team can compete against the men's would be the U17 level.
That's right.
I may be off on this quote. This is just what I remember, but I seem to recall that. And quite frankly, we're talking about two completely different games.
Yeah.
The women's team the women's team is very technical, very tactical. They're a great team for the women's game, but the men are just. We're just built differently, literally and figuratively. We're more physical, we're faster, we're stronger, and it's like asking. I don't want to come off sounding sexist by any means. This is just how it is.
Yeah, it's like asking the women out there to play professional football. Really, the size, the body mass, listen. If there is a woman good enough to play professional football, then so let it be. But I got to tell you, this isn't golf, and it's not pool, all right, which, there are some physical differences there. But in the most part, you can make up for them with skill. But you can't necessarily make up for your lack of body muscle mass and your, speed. You're looking at, track and field. The women can't get close to the men in track and field sprinting, just for an example. But that doesn't mean they're not great athletes. So that's not what I'm saying. They are great athletes. But the fact is that in this situation, there's just no way that's going to happen. Let's take Hope Solo. She's 5'9". She's 45 pounds.
And a great goalkeeper, by the way.
She's a great goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But the majority of MLS goalkeepers are at least 6 foot, and they're all about 180 pounds. And let's just see Hope Solo, who's already had so many physical ailments playing the women's game already, a busted up shoulder, etc., going up for a corner kick ball and runs into somebody like Hasseley from Vancouver. A rock, a gigantic man, or Breck Shea, who's just 6'1", 6'2", 185 pounds. That's a big boy, and she's going to get hurt. And I'm just saying this because that's our reality. I love Hope Solo. I think she's a great women's goalkeeper, but I don't think she could compete in MLS. I think it would be detrimental. I think she would get hurt. Abby Wambach, again, another great player, but her speed would be a problem. She's not very speed. She relies on her body strength and a lot of other things in the women's game that she is actually much stronger and larger than most of the women she plays against. Well, she gets in the MLS, she's just going to be average, if not less than average. because there are a lot of center backs are going to be way bigger and stronger and larger than she is.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Abby's a great player. Absolutely love her. She's great. What she's done with the U.S. national team is amazing. But even compared to the women's game, she's not the fastest out there, but she does have her strength, and she is quick enough to do well. But you put her up against people. You put her up against guys that are as strong as she is, if not stronger, obviously, but also faster than she is. I don't understand this conversation is even happening, to tell you the truth.
It's a ridiculous conversation.
This isn't something we should be debating, to tell you.
Yeah, it's not. And we wouldn't be debating it if asswipes like Tim Cowlishaw didn't go on a national program like PTI and say something so utterly stupid and so utterly ridiculous. I wrote Tim Cowlishaw a message. I sent him a message. I haven't got a reply from him, and that's not a surprise for me. I often don't get replies from big major, sports writers. Because, we're just a small soccer show, right, Brett? We don't have a lot of pull. But you know what? I wanted to make sure the world knew that was a ridiculous comment. And I love Hope Solo, but the fact is she went on George Lopez a couple nights ago, and I may be the only one in the world that actually watches that show. I don't watch it often, but I heard she was going to be on the show, so I watched it. And you know what? George Lopez brought up the fact that, she might have a chance to play in MLS, and you know what? Hope Solo didn't deny that she would be interested in it. I just think that Hope could have been a little honest there and said, you know what? I have a lot of respect for the men's game, and although, I'm very much a skilled player, I think it would probably not be a good idea at my size and my weight, as skilled as I am, to be, battered around in the box by a bunch of, 190-pound, 180-pound dudes. It's just not a good idea. It would have been nice for her to acknowledge how far MLS has come, that we're not a joke league. We're not a league of gimmicks anymore. This is a serious league of serious players. Maybe not outside the top 12 or 13 starters. After that, things drop off quite dramatically, as we've seen in the World Football Challenge. But we're still a legitimate league that's growing, and we're serious about it. And what Hope said to me was she has no respect for the men's game. I'm sorry. That's what I heard.
Yeah, well, as much as you're saying that, you also have to respect the fact that she has that type of personality where she thinks that, where she truly believes that.
That's a bit arrogant on her part.
No, right? Well, that's who she is.
I know, but that's
we've seen that we've seen that several years, and I love that aspect. No. That she is that arrogant. That's in all honesty, that's what made her the player she is today. Is by becoming arrogant, by saying,
"There's a difference between."
You don't think I can do that? I can do that. But in all honesty, I agree with you on the fact that it does show a lack of respect.
There's a difference between confidence and arrogance, though. Arrogance, I don't like. I like having a bit of arrogance. It's important to have some of that. But she took it overboard to me. That was ridiculous. Come on, George Lopez, and tell people that MLS is a real, legitimate league.
It does. It does show the lack. It does show a lack of respect there. But maybe not a lack of respect in her opinion by just simply saying that she feels she's talented enough to compete. She might not have.
She is talented. I'm not disagreeing. She's extremely skilled, but she's small. She's a very small person.
I'm just saying that maybe. She's arrogant, but she's confident because she's a very talented goalkeeper. Maybe she feels that she's capable of competing in MLS.
How many 5'9" goalkeepers are there in the MLS? How many? None. There are none.
Not 5'9".
5'9". That's what Hope. And you know what? That's generous. Hope Solo is really about 5'8". All right. How many 5'8" goalkeepers are there in the MLS?
The closest person I would imagine would be John Bush. John Bush is an amazing goalkeeper.
John Bush is 5'10".
I'm just saying, height-wise, it's the closest you can get. I'm just saying.
I'm 5'10". I'd get split in half in the MLS. I would never even dream.
I'm 6'2", and I'd get split in half.
Yeah, it takes more than skill.